Welcome back to my channel. I am back. I have taken a little bit of a break and I must say it wasn't planned. I didn't expect to take this break and I'm kind of glad that I hadn't planned it because I probably would have been freaking out if I knew that I wasn't going to be posting for so long. But it just happened and yeah, I just haven't felt that inspired or motivated to pick up my camera because like most people, I'm in lockdown and I'm spending it with my family in the countryside, which has been lovely, but also it just means that my days are exactly the same. Every day is merging into one, and I just haven't had a lot to talk about, to be completely honest. So yeah, I just haven't felt like anything significant has happened enough for me to film. But I felt like that in itself is something to talk about because I've been feeling quite strange recently about just general lockdown vibes, and I feel like I'm completely torn between how I'm feeling about this. And speaking to friends and family, a lot of people are in a very similar place. So I just felt like it would be really nice to just actually share that with you and just be honest, rather than me, you know, like finding some topic to talk about and just acting like everything is great and everything is fine and life is just rosy, because that just wouldn't feel real right now. And you know what, like I'm doing fine, like I'm in a very fortunate position. I feel so lucky that I have spent lockdown with my parents in the countryside. It has been lovely, so things are good, but it's just this like lingering feeling of almost like an anxiety of when life reopens. And yeah, I think I just wanted to start this conversation with you and see if you're feeling similar. I think because with my line of work, every day is generally quite different normally before lockdown, before COVID. And I love that feeling of not really knowing what the day is going to bring, and I thrive off of change and, you know, mixing it up, like whether that's traveling or where I'm living, or I'm just constantly needing to have like little small changes in my life because I love being able to adapt, and that kind of keeps me curious, it keeps me excited. And that is obviously something that none of us have been able to do for the past 12 months. And I've weirdly enjoyed parts of lockdown, being forced to slow down, being forced to reflect on your life and what it is you want going forward and how you want your life to look post-COVID. But I feel like this lockdown has felt really different, and I'm just feeling really frustrated now. Really frustrated with lockdown, really fed up, but at the same time terrified of it ending. And I know that sounds so weird. It's like, well, how can you be fed up of lockdown but also not want it to end? I don't know. I really don't know. I can't even put it into words. I'm just so done with lockdown, but also I think I'm just really scared of the unknown, which isn't like me because I almost like love the unknown normally. I'm like, let's do it. But I've just been feeling really scared about what life is going to look like after lockdown, because before COVID hit, my life was very different. You know, hopefully most of you that are watching have followed me along this journey for years, so you know what I'm talking about when I say how different my life looked. And I was living in India when COVID hit, and my future, not that I planned too much of it, but it looked very different to where I am now. And I feel like I've taken all of that in my stride, and I've learned so much about myself, and it's been an incredible journey of self-discovery, so I wouldn't actually take any of it back. But now that we're approaching the end of this lockdown, and hopefully the last lockdown, it's making me think about what my life is going to be like after lockdown and how different that life is going to be compared to pre-lockdown, pre-COVID. And I think it's just the unknown that is terrifying me, because I really have no idea what life is going to be like. No one does. And I think a lot of people can probably relate to that. even though everyone's circumstances are completely different, everyone has been affected by COVID in very different ways, I think it is forcing us all to consider what is our life going to be like post-COVID, because we almost have that power now to dictate that for ourselves, because it's like a fresh canvas, right? Like starting afresh now that things are reopening. But it kind of feels like a bit of a race. You know, I'm speaking to a lot of friends that are like, yeah, I've booked like so many holidays, and I've booked restaurants from the 12th of April, and brunches are booked, breakfasts are booked, lunches are booked, dinners are booked. I've booked nothing, and I'm kind of having a bit of a panic that I'm behind, that I'm being a bit like, I'm gonna have to play catch up, and I hate having to play catch up. Like, I wanna be the one almost driving it, you know? And I just feel like I haven't booked much because of the uncertainty and the unknown, but now I'm feeling a bit left behind. But I don't want to be at the front as well. It's like, you can't win. I cannot win because I don't know what I want, and I'm scared of lockdown, but I'm also scared of not being in the lockdown, and I'm scared that I'm being left behind, but I also don't want to be like caught up in booking everything. It's like, what do I want? And I don't know. I really don't know. It's just this really, really weird old time. And I think I just wanted to share it because I don't think I'm the only one that's feeling this way. I mean, I went for a walk even this afternoon, which is why I'm a bit windswept. I did think about brushing my hair, by the way, and I decided not to. So that explains this. But I've just been for a walk, a very windswept walk, and the person I was with felt very similar, and they are the ones that brought up the word race, as in it feels like we're all in a race right now to book everything up and just like get out of lockdown and everything's gonna go back to normal. And that's incredibly overwhelming when we've been dipping in and out of being stuck at home for 12 months. And I completely get where they're coming from, because they put into words exactly how I'm feeling. Because yeah, it is like this weird excitement to be back with friends and, you know, having dinners and going to bars and just running around London. But at the same time, when I think about that, I'm like, I don't think I'm ready. I don't know. I don't think I'm ready. I think also because I have been like stuck in the countryside, not stuck in the countryside, like I'm really happy to be here, but you get used to a certain pace of life, and London is just a very different pace, you know? It's so non-stop, which is why I love it, and it's a bit like a drug, and I've loved living there for the past few years, but I think the prospect of being thrown immediately straight back into that it's scary. It really is quite terrifying. And most people's lives have slowed down, right? The pace is just a lot slower when you have to adapt to having your whole life at home. You're obviously changing a lot about who you are and what your work entails, your life, your social life, like everything has had to change. And I feel like my character or my personality has also changed, and that I've become used to that slower pace and quite enjoying it. But I found for the past few days especially that I'm just becoming quite lethargic with this life. And it is like, I'm just feeling quite fed up with lockdown. I'm not enjoying it as much anymore, but I've also become accustomed to the slower pace. So again, it's like that contrast. And I'm not really enjoying it this week because I felt so unmotivated with work, but also with general life. I find for the first time ever, when my alarm goes off in the morning, I really cannot be bothered to get out of bed, because it's a bit like, nothing different is going to happen today. Today is going to be like yesterday, and the next day is going to be like today. and actually the past week has been exactly the same as the previous week. So it does get to the point where it's like, oh, where's the excitement anymore? And I've never been that kind of person, because I love my exercise. What gets me, I know I'm bouncing around here, suddenly I'm talking about exercise, but I'm just thinking, like, what gets me out of bed first thing in the morning is normally, oh, I'm gonna go to a Pilates class or a boxing class, or I'm gonna go for a run, or I'm gonna do this, whatever it is. And during lockdown, it's been my workout videos that I watch, or just my own workouts in general, always from home, or my runs. And yeah, the past like couple of weeks, I just haven't even felt motivated for that. And it's really like I'm having to force myself out of bed to get moving. And I think it's almost like the less you do, the less you want to do. So I'm just kind of stuck in this weird rut right now. And I think a few people are feeling the same, just like completely uninspired, just no motivation, whether it's to do with exercise, even eating well, or work. I feel like everything is just suffering a little bit right now. When I think about what my London life will look like, of like waking up at 6, like going to a 7 AM class, then rushing around, like going to meetings all over London, like Soho, Shoreditch, then I've got to be up in North London, then I've got to go back home to get changed, and then I'm going out for dinner with friends and events, and it's go, 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 go. And that's what my life has been like for so many years, and I love it, and I wouldn't have changed it for the world. I just right now can't think how I'm going to bounce back into that. I really don't. And I don't think life will bounce straight back into that at all. I think it will be a gradual process. Like lockdown in itself is easing slowly, and I feel like people will gradually ease themselves back into their previous lives. I don't even know what the point of this video is. I'm just chatting away about how I'm feeling, and there's no real purpose to it. I don't really have any advice to give. I'm not really helping anyone, because I don't know. I don't know the answer. Like, I don't know what I want. I don't know what life is going to be like. I don't know how I'm going to bounce back, or how my friends are going to bounce back, or how any of you are going to bounce back. I think what I'm realizing is that we all need to be a little bit kinder to ourselves. And I, for one, have almost felt guilty for feeling this way about not enjoying lockdown, but also kind of enjoying lockdown, and feeling a little bit anxious about life going back to normal, but also a little bit excited. Like I feel almost guilty for not having such a clear set opinion on it, because other people's lockdown experiences have been a hell of a lot worse, and so many people have lost loved ones, and so many people's work has suffered hugely, and I feel, yeah, like guilt for almost complaining. But when I think about, what if a friend were to come to me and say, I'm not feeling too great about this right now, and yeah, I'm kind of struggling a bit because I'm not enjoying lockdown, but I'm also feeling quite anxious about life going back to normal. But you know, I am a little bit excited, and there are aspects of lockdown that I am enjoying, but I just don't know how I feel. There's no way I would say to them, oh, pull yourself together, you're fine. Like, people have it like a lot worse off, you know? So when I compare what my response would be to a friend that is saying those things, why would I, to myself, be so cruel? And I've got this inner voice telling me to just like pull yourself together, you're fine. People have it a lot worse right now, so you have no right to be feeling that way. That's my inner voice being cruel to myself. And I really hate the thought of you speaking to yourself like that as well. So I feel like we need to remind ourselves to be kinder to ourselves. Speak to yourself like you would a friend. Because I bet if you are struggling right now, I bet if a friend were to come to you and say that they are struggling, and you know, they don't know what to do, and they don't know how they're feeling, and it's just all a bit of a weird time, I bet you wouldn't say to them, nah, yeah, but you're all right. Like, it's not that bad. Like, you know, put yourself together. You would be kind to them. You would offer your support. So do that to yourself. I guess that's a little takeaway from this video. We just all need to be a bit kinder to ourselves. Speak to ourselves, like speak to you as you would your best friend. Because I don't think people do that enough. I don't do that enough at all. I'm incredibly harsh on myself. I'm so willing and happy to offer advice and support to my nearest and dearest. But when it comes to me, I am brutal. I am so mean. I'm just like, I don't acknowledge my problems. I don't accept like when I am struggling. In the past few weeks, I've just been like, that's fine, just like brush it under the carpet. Everything's rosy, everything's great. Just keep looking forward. And I think, you know, obviously that's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes we need to look on the bright side, but sometimes that's actually incredibly detrimental because you're not facing what you're going through, no matter how small or petty it seems, because my struggles are like, they are minor, incredibly minor. But I think being able to actually sit with it, check in with yourself and be like, yeah, things are a bit shit at the moment. You can find solutions to it. I'm not finding a solution right now, am I? I'm basically just sat here saying, I don't know how I feel. I don't know what I want. But that's fine as well. It's fine to not have the answers to everything. Sometimes you do just need to go with the flow, which is what I'm trying to do right now. With my videos as well, like I said at the beginning, I just haven't had a lot going on to speak about. And when, you know, I'm in London and I'm working so incredibly hard and I'm socializing as well, and I'm meeting new people all the time and going to events and stuff. There's so much going on that I'm constantly inspired, and that's when I pick up my camera and I'm just like, hey guys, this happened today. This is great, let's talk about it. That hasn't been happening. Like, I just haven't had any real reason to pick up my camera, and that's probably a really lame excuse. That's just like the excuse that I'm coming up with. So I am excited to be back in London in my own space, in my flat. I only moved there in September, so I feel like I haven't been able to fully enjoy that space and get to know the area as much as I would have liked to, and, you know, lay my foundations a little bit and just feel settled. I felt so unsettled for 12 months, no more than 12 months. I moved to India in January 2020. So since the end of 2019, I haven't felt settled at all. And I think a lot of people are feeling like that. Even if you've been in your home, your own like personal home for the whole of lockdown, you know, the past year, I think it weirdly is incredibly unsettling because we've all had to change our lives, and that's not normal. So I think if you're feeling in a weird headspace, that's also completely normal because we've all had to adjust our lives. And I think it's just so unfair to expect yourself to just adjust and be happy with it. And, you know, people are dealing with it in very different ways. But yeah, I think just accept that it's okay however you're feeling. Even if you're absolutely loving lockdown, you're like, this is great, amazing. Don't feel bad for feeling that way, because I've definitely got friends that are loving working from home, loving lockdown, loving the slower pace of life. And that is amazing that they feel like that. And if that's you, don't feel bad about feeling that way. And I feel like I'm somewhere in between. Like, I'm just sat on the fence, but not really happy with either way. I'm just like, kind of like parts of lockdown, but also kind of hate parts of lockdown. But I kind of really miss pre-COVID life, but I'm also really terrified of post-COVID life. I'm sat on the fence, which is a really frustrating place to be. So yeah, however you're feeling right now, it's okay. and it's absolutely fine. It's absolutely normal. We are all in this together. And yeah, what on earth is this video about? This is my like comeback video, and it's just me saying I'm sat on the fence. Oh, also, another thing that I'm thinking about a lot at the moment is the weather. Like, I haven't been able to go on runs and stuff because the weather has just been so miserable, and the weather really affects me. I don't like the grey days or the rainy days. Sometimes it's quite cozy, isn't it? But after like a week of solid rain, it's just like, wow, we really have to stay at home, which is why I went for a very windswept walk today. Normally, I would have looked out the window in like normal life and thought, I'm not going for a walk, this is crazy. But today I was just like, I need to get outside. But yeah, I think the weather definitely affects people's mood, but in such a significant, dramatic way during lockdown, because our freedom revolves around the weather. It's like if it's sunny, you're allowed out for exercise and a walk, but if it's raining and cold and horrible and windy, you are literally a prisoner in your own home. Whereas normally there'd be like a million different things to do. So I think, yeah, the past couple of weeks the weather's really affected me, which is why I'm now like in this kind of mood, this vibe of just like, ugh. So yeah, random video. I still don't really know what this video is about. What am I gonna call this video? Gonna have to think about that one. But yeah, I hope you're all doing okay. I hope you're staying safe. You are not alone. We really are all in this together. We will get through this. The light is at the end of the tunnel, and that's kind of terrifying in itself. Like, what does that even mean? Like, what is the end of all of this? I don't know, no one knows. But yeah, we're in this together, and I hope you're all right. Thank you so much for watching. And who knows when my next video will be. Maybe next week, but also maybe a couple of months. No, I'm gonna try and make this more regular.